most every device that I can think of that we use to propel ourselves in life, cars, feet, aircraft, jets, prop jobs, everything uses what's called a symmetric propulsion process. Isaac Newton. For every action, if this were a rocket out the back, there's an opposite and equal reaction the other direction. So if you have this rocket, you shoot gas out this way, you go in a line that way. It's symmetrically balanced in two directions. If you have a boat, you have a screw back here and it screws the water this way and shoves the boat forward. If you have a car, the wheel turns, shoves the ground this way and the car that way. It's always symmetrical. Now, Alan C. Holt over at McDonnell Douglas at the NASA in Houston published a paper, I think back in '82 now, on something called asymmetric propulsion. Now, Alan and I don't know each other, but we both filed papers. In fact, I even filed provisional patents in this country for another kind of propulsion concept, which would cover things in water, in air, and in space, and in certain kinds of magnetic and gravitational fields. And we call it, instead of symmetric, asymmetric, meaning if you want to go that way with your craft, go that way, that you will push something that way also. If you're going to go that way, you'll thrust that way and you'll go forward. Now this seems pretty crazy, but if I turn my rocket around and open it up a little bit so that I can squirt water or magnetic particles or whatever thrust out the front and curl that stuff back in and in here and form a gigantic water wheel or space particle wheel or magnetic particle wheel, I'll have something that is closed. It's not leaving a wake. It will breaststroke its way through the environment. This is called asymmetric, or as I put on my patent application, it's called vortical insertion acceleration, VIA, V-I-A, VIA drive. Now, this was the first model I built in the water, and when I used this, or a variation of this, it left no wake behind the boat. It left ripples, or took ripples of water with it that looked like magnetic field patterns would look, and they hung on the side of the boat, left and right, as it moved through the water. It moved very, very nicely, and with a small amount of power being required.
But it doesn't.
Let me ask you this. We hear complaints about, geez, the videos are fuzzy. Why don't we have clear videos? We must have great sensors and cameras. The military has them. Why do we always get this fuzzy stuff? Is there a reason that some of these things might be fuzzy, a field around them or something like that, that would interfere with the ability to get a really close photo?
Well, so what's wrong with the gimbal video, for example? So the AppFlare, which is what the device is on the F-18 that was used to capture that, is an amazing piece of equipment built by Raytheon. And it captures really clear videos of F-18s, F-15s, Sukhoi 22s, you name it. It's captured great video. But when you look at whatever the object is in the gimbal video, it's completely saturated in temperature, meaning it's really hot. And so it saturates the camera so you can't see any details about its shape. And around it, even though it's really hot, around it is a region of really cold air. And that makes no sense either. You go from really hot to really cold, and then you have a bubble zone that you're now at ambient temperature like the clouds. And this suggests that something is creating sort of I don't know if it's a field propulsion, if it's just because it's so hot it's creating this turbulent region around it, but that doesn't make any sense physically. Now, I will tell you that from recent calculations I've done, if this device, whatever this object is further away than 8 kilometers, then it has to be at the temperature of the melting point of aluminum. And if it's further than 50 kilometers, it's at the melting point of steel. That's how hot it would have to be to show up this way in this sensor. So it's not a jet that's 50 miles away and we're getting glare off of it. That's not what it is.
Can they be? Are there cases basically they're there, but they're not? You can't see it with your eye or with a camera.
Well, George, I tell you, this actually happened to me personally, where we've seen things in the infrared cameras out at Skinwalker Ranch all around us, and then when we move the camera down, they're not there visibly. And that to me is kind of startling and bizarre. And there have been many incidences where, and I think the Puerto Rico one is a case where I don't think people saw it because this thing looks like it flies right between the cars on the road. Nobody reacts to it. But it makes me wonder if you could only see it in the infrared and not in the visible.